Welcome to the Healthy, Wealthy, and Smart podcast. Each week, we interview the best and brightest in physical therapy, wellness, and entrepreneurship. We give you cutting-edge information you need to live your best life, healthy, wealthy, and smart. The information in this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and should not be used as personalized medical advice. And now, here's your host, Dr. Karen Litzy.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. I am your host, Karen Litzy, and today's episode is brought to you by the fine folks at Net Health. So Net Health are the people behind Redoc, which is an electronic medical record service. They are powered by XFit, and it is a cloud-based, fully integrated EMR and billing solution. You can expand your visit capacities by maximizing your workflow, get paid for your services so you're not leaving any money on the table, and then ramp up your patient engagement to keep them coming back. So if you want to learn more about Redoc and the complete revenue management service, check them out at nethealth.com/healthy. So a huge thanks to Net Health for sponsoring today's episode, and a huge thanks to my guest, physical therapist Kevin Schmidt. So Kevin is a physical therapist and clinical bike fitter in Portland, Oregon, who founded his own niche bike-centric PT practice, Pedal PT, in 2012. His office is a unique hybrid insurance cash pay model, which is 95% direct access that sees the full gamut of orthopedic musculoskeletal rehab clients with a specialty in bike fit and solving complex cycling injuries. Pedal PT is also the first private practice in the country to be certified in both sustainability practices and bike friendliness, and is active in the local cycling community, including their popular monthly free coffee for bicyclists event. At its core, Pedal PT is a value-driven company, and all employees are required to cycle to work year-round. We talk about that in the podcast. Pedal PT's model of bike fitting is designed to be a collaborative approach with local bike shops versus competing with them. The office design was fully built out with bike amenities, including indoor bike parking, bike tools and equipment, bike fit station with proprietary design, and built bike trainer and changing rooms. As of June 1st, Kevin completed the final FDD paperwork to be able to franchise this innovative model and is now on a mission to build a community of Pedal PT cycling healthcare revolutionaries throughout the U.S. to elevate the PT profession within the realm of treating cyclists and creating a united voice to address bike fit without being driven by bike industry. And we cover all of that in this podcast. Kevin was great. He's up front, and he tells you how he did all of it. So everyone enjoy, and a big thanks to Kevin for coming on the podcast. Hey, Kevin, welcome to the podcast. I'm happy to have you join me today.
Yes, glad to be here. Thanks.
And like I said, you are the owner of Pedal PT. So before we get into sort of wider discussion on your business model and what that means to you and to cyclists in your area, what led you to create Pedal PT?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a great story. I mean, I'm originally from the Midwest, so I'm from Michigan, and kind of grew up with cycling. My father was an obsessed cyclist, so pretty much I grew up with bikes in all state of disrepair all around our house. And so cycling was just a big part of our lives as kids growing up, a lot of mountain biking. I graduated from PT school in 2002 and moved out to Portland, and kind of got away a little bit from bicycling, kind of took a job for a couple of years in a very strong manual therapy clinic, private practice, was there for a couple of years, and then actually ended up working with a friend of mine, and we opened up 5 clinics in the Portland area and one in Bend underneath the blanket of an occupational medicine facility. So we were pretty much seeing 99.9% work comp injuries. And unfortunately with that, I was running around to a lot of different clinics. I was in the car a good 2 to 3 hours every day commuting. The traffic was getting just horrible. And so I found myself sitting around in traffic, getting very aggravated, getting very angry, road ragey on people. It was at that time that my son was born in 2007. So I had a new baby at home, and I just realized I needed a simpler life. I needed a way to get away from kind of this higher stress, higher burnout rate clinic series of clinics that I was working at, and I really wasn't seeing the clients that I wanted to see. I think we all kind of have these ideal people that we'd want to see, and a lot of times seeing your 350-pound truck driver coming in and having to work on their feet or something like that is really not the client that you're really dying to work with. So I just realized I needed to make a huge change. And so I took a massive pay cut and decided I was going to take a job at a private practice roughly about 2 to 3 miles from my house. And because I was able to do that, then I could finally get back into this bicycling again. And, being in Portland, Oregon, Bike Town, USA, I guess that's debatable. I just kind of figured this would be a great opportunity for me to really dig into cycling again, get back into riding. And, like I said, I was only 2 to 3 miles away. And so I decided to ride my bike every day to this clinic. And it was great. I mean, my life completely changed once I started riding a bike. I was healthier. I felt more refreshed. I was able to interact better with my patients. I just felt more energetic. I don't think I missed a day of work because of illness or anything. But one funny thing started happening to me is as I started to ride every day and year round, my neck started hurting a little bit. I was just riding only 3 miles a day, but I just kind of found it odd that I was getting neck pain. And then all of a sudden my lower back started hurting. And, as a PT, I got really frustrated because I couldn't figure out why I was hurting. I'm here treating patients. I'm evaluating patients. I'm the top clinician at this small private practice, and I can't even figure out why my back or neck hurts on this bike. And come to find out, it's because we get no education whatsoever on posture on the bike, or what we call bike fitting, which is actually your position on the bike or anything of that nature. So it kind of caused me to really get frustrated and angry that I couldn't figure this out. And so because of that fact, I started looking around and found this great group called Bike PT out of Seattle, Washington. My good friend Eric Moen runs this organization. So it's a group of physical therapists teaching you about cycling related injuries and bike fitting. And from that, I was able to kind of remedy my own situation. The secret answer is I was sold a bike that was too small for me. So there wasn't a whole lot of things I could kind of do to remedy that. But after figuring out my own situation and being able to be ride pain free again, the more people that I talked to, I realized that there was a lot of people hurting while they were cycling. And come to find out that there are studies out there that show that roughly 85% of people that ride a bike regularly will develop aches and pains related to riding that bike. And so as an injured cyclist or someone who was in pain at that time, I realized there was only 2 options for me to try to seek help for myself. I could either I could go to the bike shop, which is interesting enough. When people have pain on the bike, a lot of times they will go to the bike shop. They just assume. Unfortunately, at the bike shop, you typically are going to see an individual that knows a lot about your bike, the equipment on your bike, but knows little to nothing about your body or kind of what's causing that pain, or the ability to evaluate or diagnose your symptoms. So here we have the bike shop employee that, and a lot of times your bike fitters at your bike shops are also people with a high school education that have taken a weekend course on bike fitting, and that all of a sudden they're a certified bike fitter. So they really don't know the ins and outs of biomechanics or the body. And then the other alternative, so that would be A. B would be to go see a medical professional or a physical therapist. We know the body really well. And so they could diagnose, tell me what's wrong with my body, but having no experience in cycling, they really didn't have any idea what was going on with my bike, because my pain only came on when I was riding. So all of a sudden I started realizing there was this huge niche where, wouldn't it be great if we could combine the medical side, the ability to evaluate patients and look at tissues and really figure out where the pain's coming from, and then be able to apply that to the bike fit side, where we could have skills in actually wrenching on bikes and understanding equipment and figuring out the optimal posture that these people are in, et cetera, et cetera. And from that, I started fitting people at the clinic. I kind of went through all that continuing education paperwork and coursework, and became Portland's very first certified bike PT in around, I think that was maybe 2009 or so, and started fitting in the clinic. And people were just stoked. They thought this was amazing. And I was able to combine PT treatments with bike fitting, and people were just really excited. And so that was going really, really well. And I was excited to tell everybody about it. And then all of a sudden 2010 came around, and my dad died. And so, here's this person that's been kind of my inspiration for all things cycling related and bike related. And, he had cancer, and so he ended up dying kind of unexpectedly. And that was a huge blow to me. And all of a sudden, 6 months later, if that wasn't bad enough, my grandmother passed away. And all of a sudden, these 2 kind of horrible things that happen to you that are just such a blow to your system and your life, it just all of a sudden was kind of this, I don't want to say a blessing in disguise, but it was kind of a kick in the ass to kind of say, hey man, life is too short. You need to take risks. And if this is something you're passionate about, you've always said you're going to open your own clinic, you got to go for it. What's the point? You got to go for things. You got to take risks. You got to put yourself out there. And so, slowly but surely, I kind of slowly built built up my own practice, opened up my own practice. Pedal PT opened in 2012. And actually this Monday coming up, August 27th, will be our 6th year anniversary of being in business.
Congratulations.
So, yeah. So that's kind of my journey, kind of where I started was basically frustrated car commuter turned bike commuter, turned frustrated bike commuter because of pain, and trying to get to the bottom of that. And so it's been exploding ever since.
Yeah, and doesn't that always seem to be the way? Like when something becomes more personal to you, all of a sudden it can turn into your passion.
Right. And they always say, if you can find something where you can apply your passion and find something in business that you're passionate about, that's even better. And so I was always passionate about physical therapy. And little did I know that this cycling, it must be in my DNA or something with my father. But every year that I continue to be in this clinic, I just continue to love cycling more and want to be riding more and talking about bikes more. It's kind of like a little drug almost. And so every day that I come to work, it's not work. This is just having fun with people, solving the riddle about why they're having pain on the bike. And that's not only elite level road cyclists, but also, grandma who just wants to ride her bike down to the farmer's market and back without knee pain, so kind of trying to cover that whole gamut,
Yeah, fantastic. And now you had to go and take continuing education to be a qualified bike fitter, correct?
Yes. Correct.
And so in your opinion, why do you think physical therapists are uniquely qualified for this, and why aren't more of us doing it?
Yeah, great question. I mean, who's the expert in movement, and who's the expert in posture, and who's the expert in diagnosing pain? I mean, really, when we think about orthopedics, the physical therapist is your best capable person out there to be doing that. So when it comes to bike fitting, all you are is assessing motion and you're assessing posture. I think the reason that a lot of physical therapists are not doing bike fitting is it becomes intimidating to understand the pieces parts of the bike. A, what can be adjusted? B, how do I adjust that? C, should I adjust that? And so I think a lot of times the physical therapist, if we were to take your average PT who kind of has a generalized idea on what bike posture looks like, we put some on that trainer and they don't look comfortable on there, they could probably be, they look a little like they're reaching out too far. But they don't really understand how that translates to me taking these Allen wrenches and actually moving these handlebars or moving this stem around. So I think sometimes it's kind of that, I always kind of say this job is always kind of like part PT, part wrench monkey. You have to be able to handle tools and be comfortable using tools. And I think that's sometimes where things get intimidating, and also having the space to be able to do the bike fitting. A lot of places don't have trainers that can accept all axle types and wheel types and all the tools before you to be able to use. So a lot of times it's kind of like, I don't know, I can raise your seat up, I guess. And so I think it just kind of gets into understanding the bike side of things, which is, like I said, as PTs, that's probably the one thing they're missing is understanding the cycling side of things. But as PTs, I mean, we look at motion and mobility and biomechanics every day. That's just what we do. That's how we're trained, and that's what we're skilled in. So I really just feel deep down that the physical therapist is absolutely the best person to be performing bike fit. And however, that's not the case these days. In the US, roughly 90% or greater than 90% of all bike fits are being performed by bike shop employees who had taken a weekend course in bike fitting. So a lot of times they're going to have a real hard time solving challenges, or someone that comes in that has other orthopedic injuries going on. We just saw a gentleman today that had a 4-level fusion in his lower back and couldn't bend his knee past 110 degrees. I still want to ride my bike. So, the bike shop employee is going to be like, I don't know what to do with this guy. I don't even know what a fusion is. So again, it's combining kind of that medical side with the cycling side. So, and that's why it's been so fun. It's seeing these unique cases. Yeah.
Yeah. And where can people learn to be a bike fitter?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of different coursework out there. Most of them are being driven kind of by what we would say bike industry. So Specialized has a group that does bike fitting. There's a group called bikefit.com that's run by a gentleman by the name of Paul Swift. I always, when anybody asks me about bike fitting, I always direct people to Bike PT because, again, you're getting education from the standpoint of a physical therapist, not as an industry biased bike fitter. Now, let me unpack that a little bit. When I talk about bike industry, so like Specialized or some of these other groups, The reason they teach, people at bike shops to do this is because it ultimately becomes a ticket to an upsell. And what I mean by that is in industry, the solution to someone's symptoms is based on equipment 100%. There's very little education. It's a lot of times I'm having hand pain, so I need new handlebars. I'm having foot pain, so I need new shoes. When a lot of times when we can understand the biomechanics and ultimately what is the cause of those symptoms, I estimate that roughly 70% of equipment that's sold during Bike Fit these days is unnecessary for people to achieve pain-free cycling.
Let's say I am like a physical therapist and I don't own my own clinic, but I really want to get into this.
Sure.
What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, that's where it gets really tricky, is that there are a lot of different schools out there that you can take, but there is currently only one that is kind of more so aligned with what being a physical therapist in addition to it. So there are coursework that you can take through Specialized, coursework that you can take through a variety of different industry-based groups. That would be kind of right now, until we get up and running and expand, that's your best educational arm. Otherwise, you're going to be doing a lot of Google searching and finding a lot of information on bike fitting, and a lot of it is just not very good quality information out there.
And on that note, we're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, Net Health.
PTs, what do you hope to accomplish in 2018? I bet providing even better patient care and increasing revenue are top on the list. First, expand your visit capacity. Then get paid for your services, ramp up patient engagement, and eliminate worries about documentation and compliance. The good news is there's one solution that brings it all to the table. Redoc, powered by XFit, is a cloud-based, fully integrated EMR and billing solution. Imagine PT billing, coding, compliance experts taking the back office work off your hands and reporting to you. Learn more about Redoc and complete revenue cycle management services at nethealth.com/healthy.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more now about Pedal PT.
Sure.
So you are based in Portland.
Yes.
And you are now going to franchise Pedal PT. And we talked a little bit before we went on the air and how that term franchise can have a negative connotation.
Sure. Yeah.
So talk to me about this. How are you doing?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's kind of the idea. I think a lot of times when we hear the term franchise, we kind of hear, oh, they're cashing out, they're selling out, they're just gonna be like McDonald's, and I don't know. I mean, I think when you come down into it, basically when we're talking about a franchise, we're basically selling a business model and then working together with these people to grow this idea and this concept of Pedal PT. Like I said, right now, my goal for this, or the reason we kind of got into this whole franchising, or what does that even mean, is that ultimately, first of our two things happened. I was approached by many people in these past 6 years that said, hey, when are you going to open a Pedal PT in Minneapolis? When are you going to open up a Pedal PT in Southern California? When are you going to open up a Pedal PT here and there? And I started kind of thinking of this idea. I was like, wow, I mean, this concept is really great. The idea is great. It's kind of done differently than a lot of how Bike Fit is being done. Why couldn't this succeed in any other town? And I started thinking, I was like, well, maybe it could. That was the first thing that kind of happened. I was getting approached by people, investors that were curious about this. The second thing that happened, I was randomly at a barbecue one time and was wearing a cycling related t-shirt, and the guy said, oh, do you know this company? And I said, yeah. He said, oh, I do all their trademarking for all bike industry and bike related things. And I said, oh, that's interesting. And my wife was kind of like, we really need to trademark Pedal PT. We really need to kind of get into that and do that. So that kind of led us down this path of actually getting a federal trademark on the term Pedal PT, the concept of having a bike PT clinic. And so I was like, okay, that's great. We're protected now. And then I guess the third thing, I guess there are three things. The third thing is we were actually approached by a group that wanted to take our business and turn it into a franchise. And so one thing leads to another. We have a phone call, and 8 months later, I have put in the work, and we now have what's called your federal disclosure document to become a franchise. What we want to do is we want to bring up the awareness and unite physical therapists that are passionate about bicycling and that are passionate about treating the cycling population. There's a lot of us out there. There's a lot of PTs out there that would love to be doing kind of what we do in dealing with cyclists, managing Bike Fit, all these fun clients, yet there's really not an environment for them. Like we said, I mean, where do we learn about this? Where can we learn about these? There's just not a lot of great quality education out there. There's some basics and things that you can learn, but a lot of times it just ends up being a solo practitioner kind of doing their own thing. And then when that runs its course, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
But if we could find a united voice as physical therapists to raise the bar on treating cyclists, managing bike fit, creating best case scenarios, doing studies, things like that, that we could really elevate our voice as a career and as a field in this realm that's not controlled and designed specifically by bike industry. So it's a way that we can start to kind of give ourselves a voice. So if we had multiple Pedal PT locations, we can then all collaborate. We can all mentor. We can all learn from each other. We can all take videos of clients that we're having a hard time with and create this kind of, I always kind of say this group of cycling healthcare revolutionaries that really want to go out and change the world about how cyclists are being managed right now, because there is a lot of room for improvement on what is currently out there managing the cycling population.
And let's say I think this is a great idea. I want to franchise Pedal PT.
Great.
What do I have to do as the PT?
Yeah, you got it. Well, like I said, basically what we do is we have kind of created a turnkey solution for you. What we can do is we give you all the ways to, number one, choose your own location. So location is very important when it comes to these offices, as we are basically focusing on the cycling community. So we have protocols, we have systems in place on how to localize and find your optimal Pedal PT location. In addition to that, we then need to educate those they're going to be going into business for themselves and running their own clinic. Like I said, when we talk about franchising, it's basically what we're looking for is the right people that are passionate about cycling, who want to be in business for themselves, but not by themselves. So we will be working together to create this whole concept. Once we determine location, we have then ways to design our own layout. How we have designed our clinic here in Portland, Oregon, I was very fortunate enough to have a blank slate, and we were basically not gifted, but I got this space that was basically a cement floor and a brick wall. What we were then able to do from that is actually create kind of what I had always dreamed about being this ideal, what does a bike-friendly physical therapy office look like? What we have done is we've created indoor bike racks, full-on bike fitting stations, bike tools, changing stations. We've actually gotten a gold level certification from the League of American Bicyclists, which is a group actually from the East Coast. That's a national organization. It takes a year to get actually accredited for that. Our office is only the only PT office in America that I'm familiar with that also has a gold level sustainability rating. So that's how much paper we use, how much water our office consumes, the lighting we use all silverware. Anybody asks for water, they get glasses. There's no disposable cups. We recycle pretty much everything that comes in and out of this office. So what we're trying to do is it's awful hard to be a bike-friendly PT office and not also be a eco-friendly PT office as well. And so what we're trying to do is be a vehicle for good. So when we design the space, and if we were to open a Pedal PT location, then we work with that Pedal PT owner or that franchisee in order to design out their space to meet those criteria, to support those values that we really stand for as a company. In addition to that, then we're also going to train them on how to market. We're going to do most of your marketing for you. We're going to teach you how to integrate yourself into your cycling community, and we're going to teach you about bike fitting. We're going to teach you about our model itself is roughly a cash-based hybrid model. Our clinic here in Portland only takes 4 insurances. The rest of that is cash pay. This clinic could survive in the right environment as a 100% cash-based service as well. It all depends on kind of how reimbursement works state by state. Mm-hmm. So we kind of have the ethos of a cash-based practice. Do it your own way. Treat the patients you want to be able to see. Get paid what you think you should be paid. Also, while having a very strong value system in place about what we stand for. We're also extremely involved in the community here. Once a month, we do this free coffee for bicyclists events, and something that we've done for 6 years out here. We're actually meeting bike commuters in the morning, giving free coffee, chatting with them, kind of being part of the community. We're a sponsor of a bioswale, actually 2 bioswales out in our neighborhood.
What?
A bioswale? Are you familiar with what a bioswale is?
I am not.
A bioswale is basically, it's designed to assist in rainwater runoff. So what they are is these large, they're kind of hooked adjacent to the street, and they look like a giant trough, except they have greenery in them. So plants and things are planted in them. What those are designed to do is curb water runoff into those bioswales, which then hold the water for a portion, and then the water slowly trickles into the city water system so it doesn't overflow into the main system. That's what a bioswale is. Anyway, so Portland has taken on this huge.
It's so Portland.
I know. I was like,
the coffee is so Portland.
Everybody's
so
just
Portland.
gagging themselves right now, like, oh my God, bioswales. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I do things. We reach out to companies. I give talks to companies, tech offices. I go in on site to companies to do bike fitting for companies on site. We do a lot of things in the community. So those are all those brand things that we want to be able to carry over, teach, and encourage other PTs to be a strong part of that community. Like I said, if I live in a 4-mile radius around my office and around my house, then I pretty much know most of those people. I shop at those businesses, and what ends up happening is that the greater relationship that you can make in your neighborhood then in turn takes care of you. And with that said, when we start thinking about bike fitting, our bike fitting model is very different than how your average bike fit clinic is because we have no equipment here to sell. I'm not there to sell you new handlebars. I'm not there to sell you new stems or new pedals. What I want to do is I want to support your local bike shop. And so if you truly need equipment, like I said, it's so overly sold in the bike shops, but if you truly need equipment, and some people do, then I will write you a prescription about what you need to get. You can go to your local bike shop. Then it comes on my script. They take it to the bike shop, and the bike shop's like, wow, that was really cool. So all of a sudden, the next person that comes into that bike shop that says, hey, I'm having knee pain, that bike shop is not going to try to solve their knee pain. They're going to say, just go down to Pedal PT. They'll help you out. And if you need equipment, they'll send you right back here, and we'll get you what you really need. So therefore, it's this whole concept of trying to help support everybody versus, I think when I first went into business, and maybe, you can relate, or as business owners, you can relate, we're always trying to hold these cards close to our chest initially because we're like, oh, I don't want to give anything away. I don't want to give anything away. I want it all for me. But the funny thing is
mindset.
The funny thing is the more that you give away, the more that you take time to give away, the more it comes back to you so much more. It's just kind of a funny thing. And I think that was a huge mental shift for me after that first or second year in business, that I kind of felt like bike shops were kind of like, I'm not sending you people, you do bike fit. And I was like, no, we don't do it like that. And until we could get, the word out how we do it, they all of a sudden, all the local bike shops within about 3 miles of me are just like, yeah, just go see Kevin. He'll take care of you. I don't know what's going on with your neck. I don't even want to try to explain why you have neck pain, but they can, and they'll tell you exactly what's wrong, and they can tell you how we relate that to the bike as well.
Yeah, and so that shift from that scarcity mindset to a more of an abundance and communal mindset has really, sounds to me like, has been the thing that has helped turn not just your mindset around, but your whole career around.
Absolutely. And these are skills, and these are techniques and systems that we can then apply to all of the pedal PTs wherever they might open. And so that's what we want to do. Is we hear the term franchise, we hear McDonald's, but a franchise can be a vehicle for good and for positivity and for helping your own community and neighborhood. All the while also accelerating your career and being able to allow you to become an expert in bike fitting and managing the cycling population, which I think a lot of people would love to be able to do.
And how are you going to ensure the quality of your franchises? Well,
right now we have things set up right now where we essentially will be having monthly meetings set up between the two. This will all get more and more granular as we actually get some of these pedal PTs open. But the goal is to be able to have monthly meetings, Facebook groups, things like that, where we can constantly be communicating with each other, problem solving. My wife is going to be also assisting in that and helping problem solve for people. But as things go on, we will get more structured things. But my goal is eventually we'll have a lot of these up, and will become its own family of PTs that are all looking to improve the quality of the service they're providing. So if they have questions, mentoring, start to finish. So right now it would be something that would be on the minimum of monthly meetings, Skype calls, things like that. Just depends on where they are location wise. If there are people within, 500 miles of here, we might all get together and maybe go for a bike ride and talk about business and learn about business and help coach them on business, just helping to just grow not only their skills as a PT, but also as a business owner, because these are not skills, as you know, that we're given right out of school,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. Well, it sounds like you've got a really great plan in place and you're in it for the right reasons. You're trying to improve the quality of life for people in neighborhoods across America. And certainly for the cycling community, because I think it's also important to mention that you don't exclusively see cyclists.
Correct.
So for those people thinking, oh, I wouldn't mind opening that franchise, but I don't know that many cyclists.
Right. And I think that's the hardest thing as a niche practice. That's the hardest question we have to answer. Do you see other things other than cycling? I mean, I don't ride bikes, but I have this rotator cuff injury. Do you guys treat that? And what we always try to tell people is that we're 50-50. I mean, it's 50% cycling. It probably kind of depends on the season. Sometimes it's 60% cycling, 40% orthopedics. In the wintertime, it's probably more 60 to 70% orthopedic things related to 30% cycling. So like I said, we're full service orthopedic physical therapy, hands-on manual therapy, one-on-one care, an hour per session, one-on-one. We have no aides, no techs, just physical therapists. And we treat everything, anything that can be injured orthopedic wise, we treat it. So spinal things, ankle sprains, pre and post surgical things, the whole deal there. So
cool. So if someone is like, I want to open up a franchise, they don't have to be strictly cyclists only. You are a physical therapist with a cycling franchise. So you're a physical therapist with the knowledge to treat cyclists, but you can treat anyone.
Yeah, like we say, when people ask, they say, we are a full-service orthopedic physical therapy office with a specialty in bike fitting and cycling injury. That's just kind of our specialty, but we can treat everything. And like I said, and the best way that we can kind of get that word out is we also work very hard to get Google reviews and Yelp reviews and things. And it's our clients that do such a great job of showing also what we do in addition to the bike. Because we get people that write these wonderful reviews and they say, oh my God, I love these guys. I first just want to clarify that they do not see only cycling related injuries. I'm a nurse and I had radiculopathy and I don't even ride a bike and these guys are fabulous. Mm-hmm. So we try to kind of like I said, the more we give back to our community, the more they give back, they give us love back. And it kind of keeps recirculating that whole idea. But that's the hardest part. With a name like Pedal PT, we get the most unusual questions. I remember one time I was at a conference and people was like, Pedal PT. So your office is just full of exercise bikes then, right? And I was just like, well, I mean, no, they just imagined this spin studio. And so our former PT is just putting people on exercise bikes or something. And so we said, no, this is all hands-on manual therapy, manipulative therapy, the whole deal. I'm also a Mulligan certified practitioner, so I love the Mulligan stuff. I mean, we do it all, but we get some very unusual questions like Pedal PT. What does that mean? So. I'm sure.
Well, I think that you're certainly onto something here, and I wish you the best of luck. And I have a feeling you won't need it because it sounds like you're really, really enthusiastic, and you've got all your T's crossed and your I's dotted. So best of luck. Yeah, and now, before we finish, I'm going to ask you the same question I ask everyone, and that is, knowing where you are now in your life and career, what advice would you give to yourself as a new grad, fresh out of PT school?
Oh my gosh, that's so hard. I don't know. I mean, I feel really...
Oh, come on.
I told you I was going to think about this question, right? And I don't know. I mean, I guess the thing that I think the key is always don't be afraid to take risk. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there, and don't be afraid to put yourself into situations that make you nervous. I think when we get out of school, we're all very tentative. We want to do the right thing. Get your skills up. I mean, I think that's really important too, is don't neglect your skills. Not saying that you couldn't pull off running your own practice right out of school. Aaron did it. A lot of folks have done this. I just kind of felt like I needed to focus on what made me special as a PT, was my skills, my ability to relate with people, a lot of things with that. But I mean, I don't know what I would tell myself. I would probably tell myself to cut my hair. I had long hair and a ponytail and a long beard down to my chest, actually, when I moved out to Portland. Oh yeah, I was
oh my
deep.
God, please send that to me so we could use it as the photo for,
oh my God.
for this episode.
I'll send you my wedding photo because I literally look like Jesus. With like long hair and a beard, and I wore
my God, that's fantastic.
As well. So that might be the one thing I might tell it. Might tell myself, like, dude, just come on, like, get yourself cleaned up. I don't know, but otherwise, I mean, I feel very, very fortunate to have had amazing mentors, to have had amazing experiences, and I think ultimately, the best advice I can give any new grad is just follow your passion. And just because you don't know something doesn't mean you can't learn about it. I think sometimes we kind of deny ourselves. We don't let ourselves really dive into things because we feel like, well, I don't know anything about that. But you have to just have the honesty to yourself that I can solve this. I can figure out where to find the answers. And I think that's kind of just that entrepreneurial mindset is just, if you can, if you are interested in something, then you can probably, have the ways to figure that out. I think I remember hearing something about Elon Musk, and maybe he's not the greatest guy to bring up right now, but he said, I think, remember they interviewed him one time. They're like, you're going to open up this SpaceX program, right? And you must have known a lot about rockets and really excited about rockets. And he's like, nah, I knew nothing about rockets. I knew absolutely nothing. But I knew that, I basically signed up to that company, and then I read books, and then I talked to people, and I just learned how to do that. And I think that us as PTs, among anyone, have the ability to really learn, because we might see a client that we don't know what's wrong with them, and then we'll be able to kind of figure it out. But that always, don't be afraid to really harness that ability of, like, you don't know, but you can figure out how to get it, and just go for it. I guess. Well, it's kind of a long rambling answer. I don't know if that sounded very profound, but
No, that was great advice. Great advice. And now where can people find you?
Great. So people can find me, our website is pedalpt.com. So feel free to check that out. I'm also very active on Instagram. That's kind of my favorite social media du jour. That's my jam. I love the Instagram stories so much.
I know. I see them.
Yeah.
A lot of biking.
Yeah, I'm on a bike every day. That's what we always kind of say about Pedal PT. I feel like I'm a guinea pig for anything cycling related, because I probably experienced every pain. I've probably crashed every way there is possible. And so if you have a pain, I've probably experienced it. But I think that's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. Of course, my email address is kevin@pedalpt.com. You guys can find me that way. But like I said, we also do have a franchise page if you guys are interested as well. Another great thing that's coming up is, Karen, I don't know if you're going to PPS this year.
Yep.
Or not, but they're kind of doing a fun thing this year. I believe it's on Friday in the morning. They're doing like a round robin discussion on certain niche practices, one of which this year is bike fitting, which I think is really great that it's starting to kind of get a little bit of some traction, even in the APTA PPS market. And so I'll be there for that. My friend Eric Moen, I know, will be there as well. And so if anybody is interested and really wants to start learning more about this pedal PT, learning about bike fitting and getting into that would be a great way we can chat, and I can answer any questions that anybody might have. So.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing you in November. I still have to get my plane ticket.
Oh, no.
But I will get it. I will. I just keep forgetting. And now it's already Friday. So now I have to wait until next Tuesday because they're cheaper on Tuesdays. Anyway.
Oh, good to know. Huh. I've got everything.
Cheaper on Tuesdays.
I've got everything except my hotel. I've got a wait list on the Broadmoor. That place sells out so fast. It's just
yikes. It's crazy. Yeah. Was there a hotel near there?
I think there's a couple of Hiltons or Holiday Inns around there or something like that. But yeah, so if anybody wants a bunkmate, let me know. I can crash on the couch with you or something. So
perfect. And I'll tell you, a couple of years ago, I went to something, and I don't know if it was Graham Sessions or if it was a PPS meeting, and it was in Arizona. Mm-hmm. At some fancy resort that it's escaping me at the moment. And I remember calling because I kind of decided to go last minute. I called and they had a room, and everyone else who tried like months earlier, they said it was sold out.
Oh, interesting.
So just so you know, make sure you keep calling. That's my advice, because when I was like, oh, I just got it last week, people were like, what?
Got it.
So people cancel. So keep calling. I would don't do it online. Call on the phone.
Got it. Yeah,
Anyway,
that's
lovely
perfect.
little travel hacks and tidbits.
Yeah,
for
I like
people
that. I like
listening.
Tuesdays for flights and keep
Yeah.
calling. Okay, got it.
Keep
got it.
calling. Perfect. All right. Well, I will be seeing you then in November. And to
Awesome.
everyone else, thanks so much for listening. Have a great couple of days and stay healthy, wealthy, and smart.
A huge thanks to Kevin for all that great information. And of course, a big thanks to our sponsor for today's podcast, and that is Net Health. So Net Health are the people behind Redoc, powered by XFit, the cloud-based, fully integrated EMR and billing solution. Plus, you can opt in to completely outsourced billing services. That's the best way to optimize your revenue. Imagine your PT billing, coding, and compliance experts taking the back office work off your hands and reporting to you. This allows you to do the things that you love to do for your business, whether that's treat your patients, work on growing your business, marketing to your neighbors and your doctors in your community. You could do all of the stuff you love to do and let Net Health take care of the rest. To learn more about Redoc and the complete revenue cycle management services, check them out at nethealth.com/healthy.
Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to the podcast at podcast.healthywealthysmart.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media.